Leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, life coach, speaker, author, trainer, musician, singer, songwriter, friend, coach, just wanting to help and empower the world and enrich the lives of the people around me through this podcast. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. This is a podcast where we help you claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible so you can ultimately upgrade and update your life so you can ultimately inspire others to do the exact same, because that's what it's all about: learning, earning, and returning. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. We've got a great week of podcast ahead of for you this week on this marvelous Monday morning. I love Mondays. I know for the most people, 80-90% of people do not like Mondays. And as a reminder, most people, the heart attack rate goes up by like 30 or 40% between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. just because people don't want to go to work or do something they don't want to show up to doing something that they don't want to do. So let me tell you something. If your heart's telling you to do something different, or at least to engage in something that's going to engage that heartfelt unity, passion within your life, to engage it not between the hours of 9 and 5, but at least between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m. at night, or at least for 15, 20 minutes a day where you're doing something, you're engaging in something that you love, so you can show love, be love, express love, and encapsulate what love's all about, because that's what love's all about. It's all about outpouring of love, generativity, abundance, and it's all about being a part of that circulating energy and power, not blocking it by spending most of your time doing the things you hate. So today's podcast is all going to be about victim versus victor thinking. What would you name the title of this podcast there, Kev? I've already forgotten, man. What's going on?
Not too much. I called this one How to Take Responsibility for Your Life. So we've talked about the importance and, what taking responsibility for life can really do. And we're going to touch on that again today because you said you have a quote and you're actually going to read some of the guy's book. So we're going to get right into it there.
Yeah.
So I called it How to Take Responsibility. So once you do explain the power of taking full responsibility for your life circumstances, can you explain as in-depth and clear as possible so that everybody at home can figure out how they could take responsibility?
Okay, so before we let me just get right into this, and I'm going to read you something. I'm just kind of going to read some of it actually word for word, but I'm also going impromptu too about explaining who this person and the amount of stress and challenge and problems that this guy went through, and it's extraordinary. Most of us, I wouldn't say all of us, if you're listening to this podcast, would probably say that they have never been through or having experienced this much torment and suffering in their life compared to this particular story. So this particular person had really bad problems, had life-threatening health issues, an eye problem that left him temporarily blinded as a child, a terrible stomach condition that caused excessive vomiting and forced him to adopt an obscure and highly sensitive diet, trouble with hearing, back spasms so bad for days at a time he couldn't sit or stand upright. So if you are healthy physically, you're already above the game when it comes to this guy. So he was basically saying, by his father, he said that he was lazy. He had a younger brother that was a world-renowned novelist, a sister that was also a good writer, and he was basically the black sheep of the family. His father basically was a wealthy man, felt sorry for him, and he, by some extraordinary, I guess his business connections, he was able to get this guy admitted to Harvard Medical School against his own will. He didn't want to go to Harvard Medical School, and it's kind of against his. Again, it wasn't aligned with his heart. It just wasn't aligned with what he felt like he was put on this planet to do, and he basically failed horribly. And then after touring a psychiatric facility, he felt more connected with the patients than the doctors themselves. And then he basically decided to drop out of medical school against his father's intentions. And then he went on this crazy journey. Imagine this. He decided to go to the Amazon rainforest and journey to the Amazon rainforest. And this is back in, I believe, the 1800s. And going on this journey with all his health issues, he was able to survive, but he promptly contracted smallpox and nearly died in the jungle. Now it gets worse. Then his back spasm returned, painful to the point of making him unable to walk. By this time, he was emaciated and starved from smallpox, immobilized by his bad back, and left alone in the middle of South America with no clear way to get home, a journey that would take months and likely kill him along the way. He was able to survive by some extraordinary thing. And after that, he just decided after surviving that whole entire escapade in the Amazon rainforest, and back in the 1800s, by the way, there's no GPS, there's no iPhone, there's no Android, there's no television, there's no plane, there's no cars. Okay, he's doing this by himself. He decided, and this is in his diary, he wrote that he would spend 1 year believing that he was 100% responsible for everything that occurred in his life, no matter what. During this period, he would do everything in his power to change his circumstances, no matter the likelihood of failure. If nothing improved in that year, when it would be apparent that he was truly powerless to the circumstances around him, he would then take his own life. But he would, no matter what happened, he would take 100% responsibility. But for a whole year, he would act and believe and think and behave and respond as if he was 100% responsible for his life. Here's the thing. This man, this gentleman I'm talking about, his name is William James, and he went on to become the father of American psychology. He would, no matter what happened, would later refer to his little experiment as his rebirth and would credit it with everything that he later accomplished in his life. This is the realization that we individually are responsible for in everything in our lives, no matter the external circumstances. He says this: we don't always have control what happens to us, but we always control how we interpret what happens to us as well as how we respond. Choosing not to respond to the events in our lives is still a response to the events in our lives. So what's the point of this whole idea? Having gone through what he went through, having gone through being basically born with all these physical ailments, and basically having siblings around him achieve at greater success levels than his father perceived that he would ever succeed at. He dropped out of Harvard School, having all these opportunities thrown at him, failing, suffering, going to Amazon rainforest, and then later finally living out that extraordinary rebirth year and becoming the father of American psychology. So let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. How do you take responsibility? The first part of it is choosing to take responsibility for your life right now, in this moment now. If you're listening to this podcast, choose now to say, if I'm going to be like William James, if I'm going to be like this guy was not superhuman by any stretch of the imagination. This person suffered. This person had pain in their life. This person started well below the basement, and they decided, if I'm going to change my life, if it's to be, it's up to me. The buck's got to stop with me. And he did. And William James, the great American psychologist, was basically born, and he was able to change his life and change the impact of the psychology as we know it. And so the first part of it is to make the choice to say, I'm now 100% fully responsible for my life. It's true that if someone hits you in a car, or if your plane is late, or you got hit, it being winter right now, you got hit by a car right now, or a Mack truck, whatever, you're in the hospital, or the CRA or the income tax or IRS or after you. It's true, those things are going to happen. It's true that your car is going to break down. It's true that your friends might leave you. It's true that you might be cheated on. It's true that someone might steal from you. It's absolutely true. But how you respond to that is your responsibility. How you respond to that is your responsibility. So choose now that, you know what, if I'm going to make my life better, then I'm going to choose, I'm going to be the one. No one else is going to do it for me. In fact, what I like to say to people is this. I was doing a presentation a few weeks ago, and I said to the people, okay, let me ask you a question. In 21 days, who in here can believe that they could make their health, their wealth, their personal life, their professional life, their relationships, their spiritual life, their emotional life, their happiness, their hope, and their overall wisdom and happiness of life a whole lot worse? And everyone's like, well, everyone kind of laughed at that, and they were like, oh, yeah, of course I could do that if I really wanted to. Now, the second question was, how many people in here in the next 20 days can make their personal life, their professional life, their health, their wealth, their well-being, their hope, their happiness, relationship, their spiritual life, their mental health, and their emotional life a whole lot better? And everyone put their hand up. And I said, okay, great. How many believe that it's their choice? Everyone put their hand up. And then I asked the final question. How many believe that every choice has a specific, every action has a reaction, or every action actually has an equal reaction, whether positive or negative? And everyone put up their hand. And I said, if you answered yes to all four, then from this day forth, you cannot tell me that you cannot take responsibility and make your life either worse or better. It is your choice. And that's not meant to bring up guilt. It's not meant to bring up, emotions of negativity. Oh, I guess I'm responsible for all the crappy things that showed up in my life. No, you may not be, but you are responsible for how you respond to that, how you handle it, how you interpret it, and the meaning you give it. And that's what it comes down to. And we talked about this before, about the three choices you really have is what to focus in on, what meaning you give what you focus on, and then ultimately what you do. That's all you have control over. And in those three choices, you are responsible for what to focus in on. Like right in this moment, you can either choose to turn this off and focus on something else or watch TV, or you can focus on, you know what? I hear what he's saying. If things are going to get better, if it's to be, it's up to me. And if things are going to get better, I'm going to make the choice now to make things better, even if it's just one little small action. Again, one pebble in the pond, it starts a ripple effect. Just make the choice to take full responsibility for your life. The second thing I recommend for the people out there is once you decide that my life is my life, it's 100% my life, then basically spend a lot of time on what areas of life that you wish to improve on. That if you're unsatisfied with a certain area of your life, what areas do you wish to really improve on? Because if it is true that is your choice, you can either make yourself better, your life better, or worse. Choose to take over 100% responsibility for that particular area of your life and make it better. Come up with a plan, start writing down some ideas, and then third, take action. That's your responsibility too. Take action. Any thoughts there, Cam?
Yeah, I think choosing to take full responsibility. It's just that his story is crazy. I can't, that's nuts that he decided to do that for an entire year. And his entire life on the line is kind of insane. But
yeah, I know.
I imagine, what he went through and what he's been going through at the time was like, okay, I'm ready to actually do this. And most of us don't get to that point. That's the unfortunate part, right? We're a little more comfortable than that guy was. But yeah, I think, you know what? I've done something similar, but I almost do it unconsciously. Yeah. Because I learned about the law of attraction very early on in my life. And so for a while I figured I was 12. And so I kind of grew up with the idea that I'm responsible for everything in my life vibrationally. And it just made sense to me because I started being positive, and then I would just have luck and everybody else around me wouldn't. Not to mention, like you said, I would make the right decisions, and I would have a little bit more willpower to do something because I know I have control over it, Yeah. Or if I don't have control over it, like you said as well, you don't have to focus on things you don't have control over. It's a waste of your time, waste of your energy, right? Yeah. So, I love that story. That's amazing.
Well, and the reality is, Cam, I remember one of my original mentors used to say to me, Anthony, there's 4 areas of your life you definitely want to take 100% responsibility. All the other areas are important too, but you don't want to leave it to luck or happenstance in these areas. Number 1 is your health. You do not want to leave that up to your doctor. Your doctor is not responsible for your health. Your doctor is responsible for when you get sick. You go to your doctor when you get sick. You don't go to your doctor when you're healthy. In fact, in a crazy world, perhaps we should maybe in the future have doctors where we pay the doctors to keep us healthy, and then when we get unhealthy, we fire them. Right? So, but the point is, you want to take 100% responsibility for your health. That's your first and foremost. That is your responsibility. What you eat, put inside your body, what you put inside your mind, what you focus on, how you exercise, whether you exercise or not, how much sleep you get. That is you. That is 100% you. There's nobody else's responsibility. You can't, no blame, no shame. It's just you're going to take 100% responsibility for that area, that health. Number 2 is your finances. 100%. Even if you have a financial advisor, which I do have, but I want to know everything that person's doing. I also want to look at the books. I don't want to just hey, just go do something with my money. I want to actually know what's going on with that. It's your finances for sure. Number 3 is your relationships. And this is not no in particular order. You can prioritize these on your own. But your relationships, your relationship with your kids, with your friends, with your wife, your husband, your father, mother, whatever, your son, kid, whatever it might be, your dog, the universe. And then the 4th one is your spiritual relationship with the divine, God, reality, supreme being, whatever you you want to call it, whatever your spiritual beliefs are. If you don't believe in that, maybe it's with nature, the nature around you. You could call that. If you're a Buddhist who doesn't necessarily believe in a divine spiritual being, they believe in oneness and unity and impermanence. They believe in sacredness, radical humility and compassion and love and grace. Connecting with the people around you. I remember one here, Richard Rohr saying, how you love the divine is how you love other people. How you love other people is how you love the divine. How you love God or the divine or supreme reality is how you allow other people to love you. And so it's right there. Your health, your finances, your relationships, and your spirituality. And don't let anyone, even if some guru of that particular area, like someone that's a guru of health or relationships, or some spiritual guru or some teacher, make sure whatever you decide, it is a product of your own conclusion. And that you commiserate and kind of, you know what, like as Jim Rohn said, which book should I read? Should I read this? This book says this, and this book contradicts it and says that. Should I do this one or this one? And he would say, read both. Don't read it. Don't believe any. Read both and then decide on your own. So make sure everything you do is a product of your own conclusion. Make sure that you're deciding on your own. You've basically examined it. You've gotten the right mentorship and right wisdom from other people, but then you make the decision to do it or not to do it. That's your responsibility. Don't let anyone take those. If your health gets bad, take responsibility for that. If your finances are bad, then you take responsibility for it. If your spirituality is not where it's supposed to be, or in terms of the love and connection you have with the divine, or your relationships are better, or your relationship with your kids are better, let me tell you, take responsibility for that. Don't wait for things to happen. Make things happen. That's the key to all this whole thing. And I would add one last thing for all the people out there that are struggling with their life. Hey, I get it. Crappy things happen. It does. They do. My mom. Do you honestly think that morning of September 14th last year that I was going to be driving? That this was the last time I was going to speak to my mom. That was horrible. Like, I mean, to have to perform CPR and walk into my mom's home and find her lifeless body basically in her front area of her lobby in front of her door, and then me having to call 911 and perform CPR on her. That's not something that everyone expects to do every day or expects to do any day. But I know I was responsible for for the meaning I gave that experience. And the pain, I'm still going through it. They talk about the whole year of losing someone that's special to you. That's whole year. You're going to have anniversaries and birthdays, and you're going to have times of reflection. My best friend died when I was 17. That was 4 years ago. And I still have times when I'm like, oh, wow, I've learned so much. I've grown so much. And it's my responsibility to get help, either from therapy or coaching, whatever it might be. My spiritual practice is meditation and prayer and letting go. That's my responsibility. If right now, in the next 24 hours, I knew I was going to die, the next 24 hours are mine to spend it. Either I'm going to spend it in fear, or I'm going to go, you know what? I got 24 hours left. I'm going to tell my wife how much I love her, my kids how much I love them. I'm going to spend as much time, and I'm going to get on this podcast maybe for 10 minutes and just tell the world what my last podcast thing. I would just tell everyone, send out so much love and energy to the world. That's my responsibility. So that a long time ago, I decided that I was going to take the same route as William James and just say, I'm now 100% responsible for how I respond to life and the actions I take, what I believe and what I don't believe, and what I'm going to learn, what I'm going to focus in on, what I'm going to do, and the meaning I give life, and how I'm going to live my life. So whatever it is that you want to change, take 100% responsibility. Step 1, step 2, formulate a plan, or look at it, be honest with yourself and go, you know what, this area I'm not like, out of a 10 being ultimate pleasure and happiness, rate that area. If it's your health, you say I'm 4 out of 10. But you could say, oh, I'm 8 out of 10, but really you're 4. Be honest. Ask other people. Do you think based on how I'm living my life, do you think I'm a 8 out of 10 or am I a 4 out of 10? And then get their honest opinion and tell yourself the truth, because the truth shall set you free. And then from there, formulate a plan and then take action. Number 3. Any extra thoughts there, Kev?
Yeah, I think this was a really, really good episode. Like,
okay,
well said.
Good.
That's honestly all I got.
Yeah, and by the way, that story was actually, I've read that story, the William James story, in multiple books, but this particular book, highly recommend it.
What's it called?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. It's great. I can't really say it on this podcast. It's not right. It's a great book. Sold over 3 million copies. It's a great book. And I'm also going to talk about another story. I think our next podcast is going to be the power of standing up for what you believe in, or standing up for what you believe in, and the power of doing that. I have a few stories that I want to share with you that come from multiple sources that I think that would really kind of hammer in this responsibility podcast, as well as going, wow, that person stood up for what they believed in, and look what happened. It created this ripple effect in eternity and changed the whole entire perspective of the world. So I'm going to share that tomorrow.
That I am looking forward to. Awesome.
I'm looking forward to this podcast every day, man. Looking forward to the, you know what, and to the people out there, Cameron, and the people listening, thank you for listening. It is my pleasure and honor to be your coach, to honor to be your friend, to serve you in the way that I serve you. Hopefully, I'm resonating. The stuff that I say is resonating with you, and you are making the necessary steps and arrangements in your life to improve your life, to upgrade your life, to update your life. So thank you to Cam and the people listening out there. This would not be happening without you, Cam, and the people around me. So I'm so unbelievably grateful and appreciative for your friendship and your love. So to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion. God bless, guys.